Have you ever noticed how, as you grow older, learning new things becomes slower and harder? Think about the last time you tried to pick up a new skill, whether it was social media platform, a new software at work, or even a hobby like playing an instrument. Did you feel frustrated, thinking, why can't I get this? I see this all the time. As one of the youngest veterinarians at the clinics I've worked at, I hear adults all the time say that I can't get used to learning this new thing, I can't get used to making videos, or social media is impossible, or I'm too old to learn this. And to be honest, I felt it too, sometimes. I was never a big reader in my life, whether when I was a child or a teenager, books felt slow compared to video. But a couple of years ago I decided that reading would become a pillar of my life. And trust me, building a reading habit again at 25 years old almost feel like you're starting to learn how to walk again. Honestly, I completely feel dumb at the beginning. For years, scientists believed that once childhood and adolescence were over, the brain's wiring was mostly fixed and would simply decline over time. This belief discouraged plenty of different adults who didn't even dare to try to learn new things. But today research has shown a completely different side of the story. The brain can change, adapt, and rewire itself. You're not stuck. In this video, we're going to learn how you can change your brain and adapt to learn new things in your life through a process called neuroplasticity. You will discover what it really means. You will discover how incremental learning works. You will also discover the two doors to reach neuroplasticity. We'll also talk about how to time your learning for maximum effect, and I will also share with you how I personally use these principles to rebuild my reading skill at 25 years old in order to move forward in my career as a veterinarian. Basically, today we're learning how focus can change our brain. Let's go. Imagine plastic in your hand. You can stretch it, mold it, shape it. Now imagine that this plastic is your brain, flexible, alive, and able to change its form. That is not just a metaphor. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself and strengthen new connections. And most adults don't really realize that this process is starting to happen every time they try to do or learn something new in their life. And you probably experience it without knowing it. I mean, you try to master a new skill, you try to learn a new concept in your life, and you feel no progress. For days, weeks, nothing has changed. You start thinking that you're not good at this, that you're too old for this, and then one day, almost out of nowhere, it just clicks. You can suddenly play that chord, recall that information, or perform that procedure. This is neuroplasticity at work. Scientists call this incremental learning. In the context of neuroplasticity, it means the brain rewires its circuits gradually through repeated small experiences rather than through one massive exposure. Each time you practice a skill, recall information, or learn new information, you activate a specific neural pathway in your brain. With enough repetition over days and weeks, these pathways become stronger and more efficient. Thus, the tasks get easier. There is this classic line from Donald Hebb in Neuroscience: neurons that fire together, wire together. It's not just a slogan, it's a mechanism. Each time you activate a specific network from your brain, you're increasing the likelihood that these neurons will keep on firing together again. Over time, these connection grows like a path in the forest being walked and walked again until a clear trail forms. This is why consistent learning beats cramming. And also, incremental learning minimizes cognitive overload by presenting your brain with manageable challenges. You keep it in this optimal learning zone, where attention, acetylcholine and epinephrine levels supports neuroplasticity, which we'll talk soon later in the video. All of this without tipping into stress. Over time, these micro changes happening in the neural pathways of your brain, they solidify into very strong networks, making retrieval of new information smoother and skills more automatic. So if you've ever wondered why little by little works better than all at once, this is the reason why. The complex abilities that the human brain is able to learn, they don't just appear from a single leap. They are the cumulative outcome of countless small steps. If neuroplasticity is so powerful and yet so simple, why does it still feel so hard to learn new things as an adult? Well, it is because adults' neuroplasticity run through mechanisms that you have to deliberately activate, compared to whenever we were children, where passive exposition to new things, information, or new skills would be enough for us to learn it. Think of adult neuroplasticity as being locked behind two doors. If you want to reach it, you need to unlock both of them. The first door is alertness, and it starts with epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, while circulating in the body. This neurotransmitter is produced in the region of the brain called the locus ceruleus. It has a huge role in switching on our attention system. Without epinephrine, your brain drifts. You're a bit sleepy, your pupils are fully dilated. However, with higher epinephrine levels, your brain snaps into attention and alertness, ready to encode new information. The second door is branded acetylcholine. This neurotransmitter is secreted by two different regions of the brain, the nucleus basalis and the parabigeminal nucleus. These are two neuroscience fancy words that you don't need to recall, obviously. What you need to understand is that it has two main functions. First, it acts as a signal-to-noise filter. Your senses are bombarded with stimuli all the time, every single second, and acetylcholine helps you pick out that one signal that matters to your life. Second, once your focus locks onto that very specific signal, acetylcholine highlights the exact neural pathway involved, effectively tagging them for change. Knowing that these doors exist is powerful. However, knowledge alone is not enough to open them. You need the keys in order to do so, and the great news is that you can control these keys. The keys to the first door: boosting epinephrine. The simple, most reliable key to increase your epinephrine levels is physical activity. The locus ceruleus is action related. Whenever you move your body with high intensity exercises, it activates itself. It releases epinephrine and wakes up your entire system. High intensity exercise early in the day is a great way to elevate your epinephrine level and increase your neural energy throughout the day. This is why a workout before studying or before getting work done often feels like a fuel rocket for your brain. Another key to open the first door is caffeine intake. This is probably the most commonly used stimulant by students and professionals before getting to work. A well-timed coffee can raise your alertness and prime your brain for learning. There are also breathing techniques, small, short, intense bouts that can raise your epinephrine levels. I haven't personally tried them, so I can't vouch for them, but research suggests that they work. Still, the main point is simple. If you want your brain to be more plastic, you first need to wake it up. Epinephrine is like turning the lights on in a dark room. You can't arrange the furniture without seeing it. Keys to the second door: enhancing acetylcholine. Acetylcholine can be boosted through something as simple as visual focus, and you've probably done it without really knowing it. When someone told you to listen to a very specific sound, you instinctively closed your eyes to focus on it. This is called an auditory cone of focus. Well, you can do the same through visual focus, by deliberately narrowing the gaze to the task at hand, whether it is reading, studying, writing, working, whatever. While doing so, you will signal your brain to release acetylcholine that will highlight the neural pathway involved in the task you're doing. When your eyes and attention are locked onto one specific thing, your brain tags these synapses for change, and over time these connections strengthen and the tasks get easier. So when you sit down to learn, clear the distractions around you. Put away your phone, dim unnecessary light. Make sure that your field of view only contained the material you're working on. This is not just some random productivity advice, it's neuroscience. Even with the right neurotransmitters, timing is essential. Your brain doesn't perform at a steady level all day. It runs through what we call Ultradian Cycles, which translate as natural waves of highs and low levels of attention that last about 90 minutes. During each cycle, your brain performs at high intense focus and prepare for plasticity, but then of course it needs a break. When learning something new, don't overestimate your brain capacity. I personally use a timer to time my learning or reading session sometimes. I clear away my distractions from my environment, most of them being screens. And I make sure to let my brain warm up for the first 5 to 10 minutes before starting that session to make sure it shifts into a nice, intense focus mode. The 90-20 pattern works best for me. 90 minutes of Ultradian cycle and 20 minutes break involving walking, light movement, or breathing exercises. And this is exactly how you respect your brain's natural wave instead of fighting them. Chapter 3, my personal example of neuroplasticity. At this point of the video, you might be wondering, okay, but how does this really work? Well, let me share with you my own story. I've always underestimated the power of neuroscience. At university, I only studied to pass my exams. As a kid, I would choose videos over reading books. By the time I was an adult, my reading skills were almost non-existent. Fast forward, I'm finishing a 15-month veterinary internship, the most challenging period of my life, and I'm about to start a new one as a veterinary surgery intern. This next chapter of my life requires me to learn roughly 3,500 pages of highly technical surgical content and also read through hundreds and hundreds of articles. I then quickly realized that I had to change my habits dramatically. In other terms, I had to learn how to read again and how to focus again. I assessed my habits. Reading frequency, once or twice a month. Reading speed, a snail crossing a rainy road. Effectiveness, near zero. So I dug into neuroscience research on neuroplasticity and started applying it to my own life. I pulled out all self-improvement books that I bought but never read. I chose one and began reading every single day, bit by bit. I stacked my habit, reading after a shower, after exercise, or after a coffee to boost alertness and epinephrine levels. I used visual focus by clearing my environments. No phones, no screen, dimming the lights. So the only thing in my field of view was my book. The first session were brutal. I could barely focus for a few minutes. It was boring. My brain resisted, but I pushed through. Week by week, I felt the progress curve. I could read longer without effort. The discomfort faded, and my focus and reading capacity grew. And then I learned something crucial. The mechanisms that build neuroplasticity, they don't happen during the work session. They are triggered during that moment, but the actual rewiring, the strengthening of synapses, occurs during sleep. While science is still studying which sleep cycle matters most when it comes to neuroplasticity, what we know is that rest is essential, and it is the actual time where your brain consolidates the changes you initiated during the day. All of this to say that your daily routine and your night routine need to work together. And without an adequate sleep, you will ruin and sabotage your own neuroplasticity. So what does all of this video mean to you? I'm pretty sure there is something you tried learning, whether it is a hobby, a skill, or a new piece of information, which you gave up on because you thought you couldn't do it. Whether it is because it felt too long, whether it is because it felt impossible, guess what? It is the same for me, for you, and for every adult on earth trying to learn something new in their life. However, with the right approach, opening the two doors of neuroplasticity, respecting your ultradian cycles and your sleep, you can teach your brain to change at any age. So pick that thing back up again. But this time you start alert, you start focused, and you start with the understanding that small consistent steps beats giant leaps. You will see that slowly, that new neural pathway in your brain will light up almost magically. Alright, this is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below in the comments and to subscribe to this channel. It truly means the world to me, and I will meet you in the next one. Bye bye.